Hey YouTube, Shelka04 here. First off, do me a favor, leave comments, subscribe. They're always appreciated, and they help me judge what people are interested in. Today's going to be a little scary one. Today, and I'm going to try to cant this to scare you. Uh, Today we're going to talk about how safe are your children. I don't have any children actually, so we're going to talk about your children. Okay, so let me start by looking at my watch. Okay. Remember the fact that I've looked at my watch because that's critical, okay? So we're going to talk about your kids. Now, what do your kids do? On the weekends, they probably are at home playing on the Xbox or, their phones, or they rarely, if ever, leave the house anymore, so I guess you're safe that way. But during the school week, what happens there? They get up, they go out. Maybe you're lucky enough you drive them to school, and so they're lucky that way. But maybe not. Maybe your kids have to go down to the corner there and stand at some bus stop. Uh, they stand at the bus stop for a while, then they get on the bus. They get on the bus, and then they go to school. They go to school. They stand around for a while before the bell rings, or maybe they go straight to their homerooms. I don't know. They're in their classrooms, and after a while they'll go to gym. Sometimes, if it's warm and the weather's nice, and they still have gym at your school, maybe they'll go out to the field and play soccer, or they'll run around the track, or they'll be outside. When lunchtime comes, they'll all congregate in the cafeteria. At the end of the day, they'll get back on the bus. I'm going to check my watch. They'll get back on the bus, or they'll walk home from school, or maybe you'll pick them back up, and they will go home. Or maybe they'll go to a friend's house. Or maybe before they go to a friend's house, they'll stop by 7-Eleven or Wawa or Kroger and get a soda. Or maybe they'll go to McDonald's and they'll get something to eat, and then they'll go over to their friend's house and play their computer games, and eventually they'll come home. Maybe you'll go out that evening, and maybe you'll leave your kids with a babysitter. Okay. This is not unheard of. This is the scenario that was going on when I was going to elementary school, when I was going to junior high, when I was going to high school. And it's probably the scenario that's going on now. Now, the reason I'm having this video is because of the recent wake of violence in Roseburg, Oregon. And some people say if there were guns on that no-gun zone, that things would be different. There's no way to tell. But let's talk for a minute about how would the day be different? Well, first off, let's talk about the boogeyman. All right, who is the boogeyman? The boogeyman could be your ex-husband looking to abduct your kids because he's going to run off now and he's tired of paying alimony and child support. The boogeyman could be the kid that your son just happens to be a little bit of a bully. Or maybe this kid's perception is that your son is a bully. So the boogeyman is this kid coming looking for your son. Maybe the boogeyman is somebody who, some terrorist, some bad guy, some disgruntled kid, some disgruntled coworker, somebody who doesn't really mean you or your kids well. And how does the boogeyman operate? Sometimes the boogeyman drives a car, sometimes the boogeyman has a gun, sometimes the boogeyman just grabs them. I gotta check my watch again. Okay, so let's rewind and let's talk about those scenarios. Your kid goes out of the house, your kid goes down to the bus stop. Your kid just got abducted at the bus stop, right? Your kid maybe walks to school. Your kid crosses the street, the crossing guard there lets your kid walk by. Your kid just got abducted down the street. Crossing guard has no way of dealing with it. Maybe not. Maybe your kid gets on the bus. Your kid gets on the bus is traveling through town on its way to school. Somebody just boards the bus. Okay? The boogeyman just boarded your kid's bus. Maybe not. Maybe this bus makes it to school today, and the kids are out congregating in front. The boogeyman just had a drive-by out in front of your kid's school where there were 100 of them standing around. Maybe not. Your kids go to their homeroom and they sit in school there, and before the teacher shows up and the doors are locked, the boogeyman just walked in and had a problem in your kid's classroom. Maybe not. Maybe they make it to gym class, and as I said, maybe it's one of those outside gym classes where they're all congregating in the field over there, and you got a bunch of them in the field over there, or maybe they're running around the track, or they're playing soccer, and the boogeyman's sniping from the tree line, and the boogeyman's gonna drive his car through the pile of kids as they're walking back from class. Maybe not. Maybe they are having lunch in the cafeteria. How many of them are in that cafeteria? A couple of hundred? 200 or 300? Maybe the boogeyman is in there. Maybe the boogeyman just walked into that cafeteria. How many exits and entrances are there in that cafeteria? Where I went to school, there were 3. Wrap a bicycle lock around 2 of them, and you've blocked the only exit there. Now as you're boogieing away in the entryway. Now, if your kids make it through school and they go home, or let's say they don't go, let's say they went to McDonald's for that Slurpee or that Big Mac or what have you. Was the boogeyman there? The boogeyman has been at McDonald's before. That much we're sure of. Maybe not. Maybe they went to your friend's house. Maybe the boogeyman is your friend's big brother. I don't know. Now, the reason I've been looking at my watch is because 6 minutes have gone by. 6 minutes is the national response time for the police once they get the call until they are actually on site. That's the national average. Now, where I grew up, it's probably 6 seconds because they're out cruising around all the time, and I live in a pretty Republican, or I grew up in a pretty Republican jackbooted community, so they would have been there like hornets. There, where I grew up. Out west, where I lived, 6 minutes. You'd be lucky if it was 6 minutes. Maybe it's 60 minutes because you live in a giant county that's underfunded and the sheriff is all the way on the other side responding to some, I don't know, loose animal call. In that case, your 6 minutes just turned into 60 minutes. Now what? Alright, now let's rewind and talk about guns. Your kid walks outside the door, goes down to the bus stop, gets on the bus. Maybe the bus is a retired or maybe the bus driver is a retired veteran or a retired cop. Would you trust that individual with a gun concealed? Yeah, I would, probably. Why not? They've already had the training. We trusted them once. Why wouldn't you trust them now? The crossing guard that watched your kid get abducted down the street. Retired cop? Maybe. Could be. Would that be a good situation to maybe have that retired crossing guard carrying a gun if they wanted to? Yeah, it could be. So your kid gets to school because the bus driver and the crossing guard both were carrying guns. Maybe they were, maybe they weren't. They get into school. The doors of the classrooms are open. Is the boogeyman there? Maybe not, because he knows that half the teachers went through that training class, and he doesn't know which half. But he knows that half the teachers in the school now are packing heat. So maybe the boogeyman didn't come to school today to bully your kid. Now, did the boogeyman come into the cafeteria? Maybe he did, maybe he didn't. But maybe if he did, he was met by the janitor or the one of the cafeteria staff who went through the training and now have the right to carry a gun and are there protecting not only themselves but your kid. So they made it through the day. Your kid made it through the day. Now, they went to McDonald's. Would it be nice if the manager at McDonald's had a carry permit for a gun? Maybe it would. Maybe it wouldn't. I guess it all depends upon the location and the scenario. But it couldn't hurt. Given the right training for the right individual, this is a win-win scenario for everybody. And what is the right training? Let's talk for a minute. Training is an interesting thing because you're going to wait 6 minutes for the cops to show up. Google how often police are required to qualify with their weapons, and you will be surprised that a lot of municipalities only require their officers to fire the weapons once a year and fire no more than 20 rounds. That's not training to me. That I don't know what that is. Training is doing it training is basically the person who's interested in it and is out shooting quarterly or at NRA competitions and stuff like that. Are there individuals who I think would be a benefit if they were armed? Yeah, I think there are. Now, I went to school in New Jersey. I went to James Caldwell High School. And so if you went to school with me, either at that time or after the fact, I'm going to drop some names now of people who I think would have been good people to carry a gun. Frank Gambelli, our principal, he should have been carrying a gun. Because in the Marine Corps, before he was a principal, he was carrying a gun. Our gym teacher, Frank David, he was a good, respectable guy. I would have trusted him with a gun. Mr. Kostick, he gets my vote for being a person who I would have trusted with a gun. Mr. Lindgren, Mr. Edwards, who else? Mr. Jessup, the AV guy, he was in the 82nd Airborne. Damn, I can't remember. I was thinking about him the other day. My English teacher. What was his? Oh, Jay Sheriff. He was in Vietnam. Not only was he carrying a gun, but he was protecting us then in Vietnam. But we don't trust these people to protect us now. I don't know. It's kind of an interesting or curious scenario. Again, I don't think guns are appropriate in every situation. They're not. They're certainly not good in all scenarios. But the fact of the matter is, the boogeyman's going to either drive his car into the crowd on the corner, or the boogeyman's going to come in with a gun or a machete or something, or a fire extinguisher filled with gasoline or something, or a hand truck full of propane bottles or something, and he's coming in. The boogeyman is coming into a gun-free zone, and I just don't think that the odds stack up in anybody's favor. They don't seem to have this kind of problem in Israel, and that's because in Israel, a lot of the people carry guns, big guns, machine guns, and all kinds of weird stuff. They carry them right across their back. Don't believe me? Google guns in Israeli schools. You'll see what I mean. Are we as in dire a situation as they are in Israel? Not yet, but I bet ISIS would like to have that going on here. So again, how safe are your kids? I don't think very safe. I think your perception that your kids are safe is just as crazy as a mountain climber that grabs onto a piece of vegetation and thinks that's going to hold him. When I used to climb, we called that veggie holding, and that was the stupidest thing you could do. The idea that you send your kids off to school and think that their safety is guaranteed because of what? I don't see it. Unless you know that there are individuals in there who are armed and ready to protect your child, I wouldn't be sleeping too well at night. What kind of training am I talking about, actually? The NRA offers training for reasonable priced for individuals, and if not, I'm sure you could find some police in municipality who would offer training and be behind this kind of scenario. Just my thoughts. If you think I'm wrong, let me know. If you think I'm right, let me know. But the question again, how safe is your kid right now in school today? Shelka04 out. Thanks.